Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to our meeting tonight. And this is our 40th meeting of the Clausen Charter Commission. If everybody can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and words of inspiration. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We ask blessings on the people who have been called to lead the community in which we live and work and play. Keep in mind, because we all forget from time to time, that we are not only leaders but also servants, and that it's our responsibility to serve the common good of all. Grant us the wisdom and courage to know and do what is right and good and true. May we speak out when it is time to speak out and listen patiently and receptively when it is time to listen. May we always be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of justice, and the spirit of love. This we strive for in the name of all that we hold sacred and holy, all that we hold good, right, and true. Amen.
Okay, roll call when you're ready.
Boland,
Here.
Dwyer,
Here.
Answer Maynard,
Here.
Irwin,
Here.
Marucci, Nastri, O'Neill here, Parker, Slowinski.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum.
Yay.
Public comment for items on the agenda?
Standing room only.
No. Okay. New business. Okay. Do you see the minutes from the
I do.
last meeting?
I do. There's an error.
They were in the
In the packet?
one of the other packets. One of
Okay.
the earlier ones. They're
I did
probably
not see the printed, but, okay, so you have,
Yeah, they came in the last Thursday's packet, I believe.
okay. So we can ask August to correct that.
Okay.
We have a new chairman. It
Dan
was
Dwyer again.
Dan Dwyer again. So,
Look,
in the meeting minutes, you were
promoted.
the chairman, so, yeah, that can be corrected.
Isn't Ann Dwyer a mayor?
used to be the police.
It's
That was
okay.
the only one I saw.
So, does anybody want to make a motion to correct it and then?
As a corpse
we can-
obligation.
Okay.
Did you move it?
Yeah, I said I'd make.
He's part of that foul.
And it was to also make that correction as well, correct? Okay, then I'll support it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're on B now. John, do you have a status?
I do, and I
Okay.
have good news, and I think you all know what that is, but for the millions of viewers worldwide and all the ships at sea, just a quick update that we are approaching, I think, the end of our long journey to get all the working down in the charter. It's been a very tedious process, and I'm sure we're all weary of. We spent a lot of time over the 40th meeting, but we spent at least 35, 36 of those going over the charter language and making changes. And more recently, I have been having regular dialogue and discussions and interactions with the Attorney General's office, because the Attorney General ultimately makes a recommendation to the governor whether to sign off on our new charter or not. And I've provided you with changes that we'll go over in a moment quickly regarding their second to last go around. And then I got the good news yesterday that they have no further changes. And this is after several members from the government operations division of the Attorney General have gone through it, and they've also had their election division people go through it. So everybody who's have something to contribute to this has weighed in, and we're down to, if you would look at your the red line version, the charter revision master, where you'll see this is basically all of the changes we've made since day one. But if you'll focus on just the ones I have highlighted in yellow, these are what appear to be the last changes that the Attorney General has requested that we make. I think they're all fine. They're all very, very minor. And it's just a matter at this point of going through those so that the Charter Commission is satisfied with those changes. And if you are, then we need to adopt them. And then I also have given you a proposed resolution to do just that. It's a resolution that's similar to the one you adopted in April, whereby we're adopting this version of the proposed new charter and directing that it be sent off to the governor. We need to do the same thing here. The new resolution I've given you just goes the extra step of withdrawing the prior version and submitting the new and improved version to the governor's office. And my expectation would be if we do that, if we are able to do that tonight, then I think we're looking at a very quick turnaround where the Attorney General will give their official sign-off and recommendation to the governor, and the governor will send us the letter saying, you're good. And then it's all up to us in terms of the public rollout and education, and ultimately, fingers crossed, a good day at the general election in November.
Okay, excellent.
I'll make that motion. Approve that resolution.
I mean, I'd be happy to go through these, or if everybody thinks they're simple enough, but that's not necessary.
Just one quick question, John. Would the first one be, I think I understand, I know I understood what you said. Page 3, where it says also last line replaced regular city. That's your first one. That I see in yellow.
That's correct.
Okay, good. I got it.
Yeah, basically with the elections division wanted, wherever we say elections, they wanted the word city in front of it. So what you, Joe, just cited on page 3, you'll see that run through all the rest of the pages wherever the word election appears.
90% of it was adding the word city in there.
That's right. And then there were just a couple other minor tweaks, a couple word substitutions.
Mayor Pro Tem.
They did. I mean, I think it was a positive change to section 4.01, just clarifying that one section that we've spent a lot of time as a commission discussing, which is just explaining how we're a 5-member council and we're transitioning to a 7-member council, and just trying to make that wording as clear and user-friendly as possible so that the voters will understand what we're doing and there won't be any confusion, because as we've discussed before, and as Commissioner Irwin pointed out and what he submitted for tonight too, when voters are unsure about something, or they don't understand something, there's a much higher likelihood that they're going to vote no. So we want to make it, there should be no mysteries here. We want everybody to understand what we're doing, and then it's unrelated to the charter language, but we spend the next few months hopefully rolling out and explaining to the voters why we've done what we're doing and why we think that's a step forward for the city.
Mr. O'Neill made the motion. I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand up.
I second the motion.
Great.
Okay, so the motion,
When you get done explaining, I just want to make one
Okay.
comment. My only comment is, I'm glad they caught that, because I think that was our intention. Is I know I kept harping on it, and I believe others feel the same way. We want this to be voted on and everything else, not at a primary election, not at a presidential election, not at a House of Representatives. We want it done at a regular city election, not something that someone can sneak in and say, well, we had it in January, weren't you here? You know, or like I said, what was the last question on the presidential ballot? You didn't see it? I'm glad they made that change, but that was fully what we had always intended to do. It's like, we want people to be aware, it's the November election when we elect people, both things for costs. And so that was my only comment. I'm glad they caught it, but I'm glad that that's what we all unanimously said, this has got to be done the right way.
Yeah, I think it's a good change. I mean, it might initially strike as it's kind of nitpicking, but I think ultimately it's a good change. It adds a little more clarity to what we're doing.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Is that motion was to adopt the proposed resolution?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Hold on. That was to adopt the proposed resolution with the changes, all the little
Yeah,
highlighted?
well, the proposed resolution, which is adopting
Okay.
this version of the charter
And
Which is the final version.
and withdrawing the prior
The
version.
prior one, okay.
The final chapter.
We hope.
And it's dated 6/14 of 2023, the top left of the first page.
Correct.
Got it.
It's what we'll do, and I'll,
I just want to make sure.
yeah, what we'll do, and I'll talk to August. I realize he's not gonna be here tonight, but he apparently didn't get rained out, but he might get smogged out. I don't know, but.
Oh, yeah. There's terrible.
It's terrible. I don't want to breathe out there. Anyway, just to make it crystal clear, we'll have August, when he certifies the resolution, everything will actually attach the clean version of the charter right to the resolution, so that there's no confusion as to which of the multiple drafts and versions we've gone through we're acting upon.
Okay.
Does get a little confusing after a while.
So once the governor's office comes back and says, we're all set, we have no changes, we think this is great, will you then send a message to city council?
Yeah,
to-
oh, absolutely.
to all the-
I will be gleefully spreading the word
Okay.
that we got the approval from the governor, which I think is a good thing too, as far as the public rollout. I mean, we don't want to be going to the voters, even though we could, but I don't think it's a good idea to be going to the voters with a draft charter that the Attorney General's office didn't like and the governor didn't like. Detroit tried that, and failed. No, you want to be able to say, hey, we've done our hard work on this, and the Attorney General has gone through it with the proverbial fine-tooth comb, and Governor Whitmer has signed off on it. And so, here you go, voters. It's all sanitized and ready for you to give us your thoughts on.
Okay.
Madam Chair, so for clarification, what we just did is approve the final version of the proposed revised charter that will go now to Governor Whitmer. We've made all the changes
Yes.
that the Attorney General's office recommended. We just approved those, and now the clean final version goes to the governor for her signature. What you just asked, Madam Chair, is when we find out that the governor has signed it, I kind of had the neat experience of going to the Historical Museum and looking at the 1920 and 1940 charter. It's interesting because the governor signed each one, and it happened a lot faster.
Yeah, I don't think the governor will actually sign the charter. What we'll get is a one-page,
Okay.
essentially a form letter, signed by the governor, saying, you're good.
At that point, this commission needs to get on the city council agenda with the ballot language,
Yes.
right, which we've already written and
The ballot
approved.
language is part of.
And that's a very simple process of, we notify city council, here's the ballot language we want you to approve, and that's...
That's right.
That's it.
And that's little over it's about 2.5, it's about 2 months out from where we are right now, that they would be looking at the ballot language and sending it off to the county, who takes it to the printer, and then we wait for the voters to
What if they don't approve the ballot language? I think they will, but,
they'd be violating state law.
so they have no, it's a rubber stamp. It's a-
No, 'cause this
they
is
have to do.
something, the Charter Commission, again, we kind of talked about this real early on. It's an independent body. You are not subordinate.
So why do we have to go
City
through?
council, they don't have oversight.
So why can't we just approve the,
They're responsible for the
Well, they're
ballots.
responsible for
Oh,
what
okay.
goes on the
City of
ballot.
Clawson.
It'd be it's no different than, for instance, when the school district wants to put a millage out or whatever. The city conducts the election. The school district
Gotcha.
has to
Gotcha, okay.
submit the language to the city, and the city approves the ballot that it goes on.
So it's a formality.
But we don't, the city doesn't have a yay or nay over, well, we don't want the school district to have the millage, so we're not going to put it on. So more of a formality.
It's a form, okay.
More of a formality.
Okay.
John, any idea, you'll get this to them tomorrow, any idea how long the governor's office?
I'm hoping that within a couple of weeks turnaround, factoring in we've got a holiday
Understood, but I-
coming up next week, which, it's kind of the slowest week of the year in terms of people, a lot of people will be taking vacations.
Vacations.
I'm expecting within a couple of weeks. I've actually been very pleased, and I've shared this with you before. I think the Attorney General's office has been remarkably responsive. I have had instances before where we're just dealing with like a simple charter amendment, where it's taken a couple months just to get any feedback, whereas they got right on this. I think our timing, our game plan, following the chronology that Mr. Irwin had proposed and that we all adopted, I think worked well. I think we got in at the right time. We avoided the Christmas rush where everybody's trying to get in under the wire. We got ours in early enough where it got attention. And we did a good job on it.
We really did.
I mean, had we done a real hack job on it, I think we wouldn't be where we're at now. But, I'm sure you're all as weary as I am about reading this. It's like, I never want to read this thing again, but we've gone through it, every word, every letter. Even to the point where it just about drove me crazy, where one of the comments was, we had 2 periods at the end of one sentence, and I'm like, oh God, how can there still be 2 periods at the end of a
I
sentence?
think that was a carryover from the 1940 one.
Blame it on those guys.
It could be, or it could be something that just got kind of added in there somewhere during the revision process. It wasn't there, and then I hit the period twice or something and making a change. But anyway, so it's kind of little things
Easy to
driving
do.
bananas.
Okay.
Just say, for fun, the governor did sign the 1920 and 1940 charters. The signatures on the charter. So I'll be interested to see what it looks like.
Okay.
And how it
Was
comes-
that the original that you found?
It's the only one left.
Okay.
It's the original.
Yeah, I just saw that.
It's like the Declaration of Independence. It's, yeah.
The world was a simpler, friendlier place back then.
Well, the turnaround from submission to signature was like 9 days.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not going to happen anymore.
No, I suspect sometimes, you worry when you send something like this, it's going to take 9 days just to get out of the mailroom and get directed to whoever has to look at it. But we were fortunate here. Again, I think it was all in the timing, and then I think they could see from the first go-through we had, and then we had like a 4-hour Zoom meeting with me where we're going through and giving them the rationale as to, why we were doing things, and politely but firmly pushing back on certain things. I think they respected our process, that this is well thought, and a lot of time had been spent on it, and they, other than these fly-specking things, they weren't going to question or challenge our judgment on the changes that we've made.
So, I wanted to confirm the date that we're working on right now is July 24th. We need to ask to be put on the ballot no later than July 24th. Is that correct?
Council meeting, right?
Because if that's the case,
Well, I think we wanted it, but I actually think the date's in August. I wish August was here, but I think it is.
I think I always was told the deadline is like the week after the previous election. So like, let's just say August 8th is the primary. I remember we always been told it's like 14 weeks backwards. It always works out to be like the week after the primary election. That's what I think.
It's always around the seems like it's around the middle of August.
Yes.
It's like 15th, 18th.
okay,
Again,
because I think
our
August of
clerk
us-
will know, I'm sure our clerk will know, right off the top of his head.
Okay.
But
I think he
it's-
told us file 60 days prior.
Well, we meet that by 90 days.
Yes.
Okay.
If you file it no later than the week after.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're good based on your,
So we can ask city manager if we can,
So we need to wait approval of the governor's,
right, I'm just saying,
in anticipation of absolutely.
I'm just
I
trying
would
to
do
be
it in
aware of.
anticipation. I would reserve the spot on.
Yeah,
the
because they can
agenda.
always take us off.
Right.
It's just harder to
That's
add
right,
on.
exactly. So
Okay.
I would certainly try to reserve the spot.
Okay, so we
And
have
hopefully
the-
everything will fall into place and we'll get this done and then I'll breathe a sigh of relief.
July 18 would,
I was gonna say first and third, like you will.
yeah, July 4 is
They
the
need to
first.
adjust that.
So they're meeting on the
So
5th
the
this
city
year.
council is going to meet that day.
And then the 18th would be the.
So the 5th, the 18th, and then August 1st and 15th.
August 1st.
1st.
Is the city council going to meet that first week of July? Or are they
Yeah,
going to,
They're moving it a day.
On the 5th, yeah.
5th?
Yep.
They are having a meeting.
So we'll have ours on 11th then.
I think it's the 18th, Brad said.
He said our next meeting is
Our.
Oh, I'm
July.
sorry, that's right.
And then the city council meeting is July 18th.
Okay, so I'll send a message to the city manager and ask him if he can please add us on the 18th. And then if we need to move it, we can. Okay.
It's funny, we're already on the Oakland County unofficial proposal list.
Really?
Yeah, it says shall the 2023 city charter proposed by the Boston Charter Commission be adopted.
Wow, good deal. That's.
I was looking for the deadline because when we all filed to run for this office,
Right.
it was in July.
It was in July.
It was like July 26th or something like that.
Could that have been by, that would probably be by city charter.
City charter or the Home Rule Cities Act, it's just, the election law is quite a maze, and they change the rules and the filing deadlines. It seems like every other year they're changing it and they're adding more and more lead time. So again, our city clerk would know, but I think the date is August, but there's no reason to wait. As soon as we're ready to get on with it, I think we ought to move on it.
Okay.
Things happen. There's power outages. There's other things that happen. We don't want to cut it so close that we miss our window.
Okay. Anybody have any questions regarding this? Okay. Do we want to start discussing rollout of information for the public? Do we want to do that this meeting? Or do we want to wait till the next meeting?
Yeah.
It's on the agenda, so we shall, okay. So, does everybody have a copy of Wayne's second draft? And Brad also sent in, last meeting, I made a motion for anybody who wanted to send in anything they thought would be helpful in regards to informing the public of the things that we've done and how we want to do that, roll it out. And that was your answer to that, right, Brad? Of what
That
you
was
sent in?
I started thinking about it.
Yeah,
This is
okay.
what came out.
So, okay. So everybody has a copy? Now everybody has a copy.
So, Madam Chair, what happened after our last meeting is I looked at what Wayne had worked on, and then you may recall that I talked a little bit about presentation of the information, because I think that's really going to be the key for people. There are people going to want a little, there are going to be people that are going to want a lot, and how do we make that accessible to them? And so I think I said at the last meeting, if we could put together a narrative. Wayne was working on a piece that kind of went over the major changes that we made, kind of in chronological order and within the proposed charter itself. I started thinking, like, how could I take that and organize around benefits that might interest voters, right? So I was thinking about three main points: how to make it a better document for use, how it makes government better, more responsive to the people, and then ethics, right? Ethics, accountability, that kind of thing. I didn't put any bullet points in the draft that I wrote because those would be pulled from what Wayne put together and kind of deliberated here. Anyway, all I wanted to do was put into writing some of what I shared on the fly at our last meeting, because I hadn't had time to think it through, and I think by writing. And then volunteer. I know Commissioner Nasri was concerned about cost and time, to put these things together. And so I thought I would volunteer before our next meeting on July 11 to meet with the city to find out what our capabilities are in terms of organizing this information and putting it online, getting hard copies, and you'll see in the communication plan I put together, even finding out what it would cost to send the narrative piece. All right, so the narrative piece being kind of the written summary, our story, and the highlights, getting that out to all the registered voters in the city, So I was volunteering to do some homework between now and July 11, find out what we could do and what it would take to execute that. And then the memo is just all the reasoning that went into what I came up with. Mm-hmm. So it riffs on what Wayne has and repackages it a little bit in a different way of hitting at what I anticipate people will be asking and wanting to see.
So the question I have, and we've always talked, and it's been reemphasized, I don't know, the kinds of, we know we can't put out a campaign to adopt. We should put out a campaign to inflame.
Right.
We'll have $20,000 from next year's budget for this commission. I believe that's an appropriate use of funds, as long as we clearly stay away from vote for a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just either for making copies, from whatever, printing up a handbill saying this is going to be on the November whatever ballot. Make yourself aware for further information. Go to this website or call these people or do whatever you have to. So I think we should take advantage of that. That's money to, again, just step 2 of what the process that we're going into. I don't think we've ever talked about that. And obviously, we have an attorney, but even ourselves, if we just review our work and say, listen, this is a straightforward presentation. There's no bent here saying it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. Be careful for this. So that's all I'm going to say is let's keep in mind we've got $20,000 in 4 days that we have access to legitimately use to get this information out to the public.
And I called it, you'll notice I called it public information.
Yeah.
It's a public information campaign.
It's just what it is.
And I use the word story. I'm telling basically what's the story of the commission, why were we elected, how did we do our work, and this is what we produced and why we produced it. It's a presentation of the facts, the information, in a way that's accessible to people and makes it easy for them to do the research. And I feel like Commissioner Marucci is right. I was thinking we have a budget. What might we do with that budget to make sure that all the voters in Clawson, all the people that want to know, have access to that information?
Yep.
So
Laura? So just responding to something you just said, Joe, we're not allowed to advocate for this. We're not allowed to put flyers out, say vote yes for it and all that. But there will be people out there putting out flyers and signs saying vote no for the charter. So how do we counter that?
Just to clarify, what you can do as a commission, you can put out factual, balanced information. You just have to, educational, informational, you just have to stop short of telling people or...
How to vote on it?
Yeah, you can't say vote yes or vote no.
We can as the charter commission,
But-
but individually.
Individually, you absolutely can.
So I could go out and make,
Absolutely
I could
can.
go out and pay so many dollars to make signs and
Correct.
put them up.
Somebody can
And that's
form a
often what
committee.
happens. is-
What's that?
Somebody else also could form a committee, like a vote yes committee.
Yes.
That's how, the school does it. There's a completely separate organization that, advocates for those things. And if you form a separate committee to file campaign finance paperwork, like there's a little bit of legal stuff to it, but they're free to
Is there
tell
time-
people to vote yes.
We're kind of late in the game now. Is there time for that?
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
Okay.
I'd say if this was a federal or statewide election, you'd cut yourself short, but in a local election, getting the word out, getting things printed, I don't know how many signs you need. It should be doable. You have time to do that.
Well, and there are signs from the first election that I believe were purposely made to just say Charter Commission yes, or I forget what they actually say.
That'd be convenient.
Where are they?
You already have
In my
some
garage.
signs.
Yeah,
Some of them are.
yes.
So
In
we
my
could-
garage,
you
in
could
Brad's
just- you could-
garage,
so you could
your
put
guys'
those up.
garages around town, yes.
As long as you didn't
As
do it on behalf of the charter
individuals, we
commission.
can do that, correct, or somebody can do
Based on
that
what
on
you
our
just said.
behalf.
There's also nothing wrong with signs.
The signs are huge.
Vote on
Visual.
charter November X.
Right, and that's how I would expect
That's how-
in what you do, is you're not telling people how to vote, but you are asking them to vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Please remember to vote on, I should know the date too, whatever the November date is. You just can't tell them, please vote yes.
Exactly.
Vote no.
And that goes a long way.
My birthday.
Laura's birthday.
That's my birthday. We were
Oh, it
just-
is, okay.
Yeah, so I remember that
How could
date,
any of us forget? What day is it?
November 7th.
I can't decide if my hand was up or if I was just touching my face
Oh,
thoughtfully. I say to Commissioner Dwyer, my feeling is if we do a good job communicating the information to the public in a forthright way, in a way that's easy for them to find what they're looking for, I think that's going to go a long way, right? I think if our message is, look, this is the people's document. This is your city, this is your charter. We want everyone who can vote to get out and vote. I think that goes a long way. I'm going to say it here in front of everybody. I intend to look into forming a committee, right? I can, as a private citizen, I can be on a campaign committee, right?
Absolutely.
But I'm going to I'd like to wait and see how this plays out, because, if we do a good job informing the public and it seems like the public is responding favorably to that information, a campaign committee may not have to work as hard. But I'm thinking what happens over the next few months and a progression of steps that we might take if we get out in front of this as a commission and inform the public, that readies the ground, so to speak. And we may find that people respond favorably, just in the manner that we present this to them.
Yeah. Go ahead, Wayne.
Well, I had an individual come up to me, I was at the supermarket, I think, and say to me that he didn't like the fact that we lowered the age from 25 to 21, and I'm not voting for anybody for 21 to be the mayor or be on the council. That's why they don't vote for him.
Simple as that. Just vote for a different candidate.
Good news, you don't have to.
And
Yep,
I think that we as a group, you know, there was no consternation or dust-ups between any council member, so we're all pulling on the same page. I mean, we may not all agree on some of the things in there, but as a group, we agree on this charter. So I'm not, anybody that knows me, know right where you stand with me. All the time right now. And so I just said to them, don't vote for them, and we have to stand by our guns, that this was a long process. We think this is the most efficient way to have the charter for the next 40 years, or next 12 years, or whatever. That's why we did what we did. And that's what's in here. You don't have to like everything that's in here. But to me, there's nothing really controversial in here. Now you got the 25 to 21. You got 5 to 7. You've got the mayor's term going to 4, equal with everybody else. Other than that, and then you got nepotism, you've got, I think we did a pretty darn good job. If somebody doesn't like it, they don't like it because they don't want to like it. You can't do anything you can do to make them like it. And what we used to do when I was here in Boston is we put those people on the committee. Because then they get on this side of the table, oh, whoa. They become the biggest advocate.
Laura, you done? Yeah, my only concern is in response to Commissioner Irwin's here, comments. That we can put all the information out, we can bombard the public with all this, with all town halls and information on websites. But if for every vote yes sign, if there's 100 vote no signs, we will get crushed in the election. Trust me. In a small town like this, you've been around long enough, signs have a huge impact.
do you already know somebody who's putting up no signs?
No, I don't, but I know there's going to be resistance to this.
Signs can be, especially in, well, not just the local election, anything. I mean, as much as we all have skin in the game here, a lot of time, hours, 40 meetings invested in this thing. But the reality is, you're probably going to be able to count the number of people on one hand and have fingers left over that are going to go through the charter like you have. Maybe they'll read the one-page flyer. Maybe they'll listen and hear things. But the reality when it comes to local elections, the simple stuff, the signs and things can be the difference makers. Somebody sees a vote no sign, they don't necessarily know, or maybe they do know whose yard it is. They don't know anything else about the charter. They show up on election day. All they know is, well, one person who appears to know what they're talking about thinks this is a bad idea, so I'm going to vote no also. So, you know, you just can't put...
You can't discount it.
You can't put all your eggs in one basket, if you will. You've got to appeal to the, you know, there will be those who take a more intellectual approach to it and do their own research, but you also have to, we've got to sell to people who are not going to invest the time. That doesn't make them any less intelligent or anything. Just people, you know, people are busy, and some people are really into this, and others don't even think of it. Probably half the population or more of Boston doesn't even know there is a charter commission.
You know, I'm sorry, I just good thought here. You know, I think everybody here walked when we ran for did we?
Sure.
What's that?
We walked and to promote ourselves.
Collect
Sure.
signatures.
We should do that again.
Well, we had to get signatures. That's a whole different animal than going knocking on someone's door and saying, well, we can't tell them, if we do that, we can't advocate that they vote yes, but we can give them informational.
Yeah.
We can, if we're part of this committee or don't represent ourselves
Yeah.
as the cost of the charter commission says, oh, yes. If we just say, I want to give you some information, I'm on the charter commission, whatever. That's no different than us having a sign in our front yard that says, well, yes, on the charter. If you could,
So if we identify ourselves as a community,
don't even have to do it.
yeah.
But you can say, I think you should vote yes. Because we don't lose that right. But we don't speak as a body, we don't speak for, I don't speak for him, we don't speak for this group as a whole. Because we.
So we can't tell people to vote yes.
It says, I
Well, you can
say.
tell people, I mean, the key is we can't devote research, we can't
Right.
spend taxpayers' dollars
Gotcha.
to
Gotcha.
promote it, but you didn't, by getting elected to this commission, you didn't lose your own freedom of speech and freedom of expression. You can absolutely tell people
Right.
what you think, and quite frankly, just the resolution you passed tonight, if that's not a clear, clear message that the Charter Commission supports and favors this, I don't know what is. But we've got to reach those grassroots, as they say, and get the word out, and hopefully inform the people who are going to actually vote enough that they can make a thoughtful decision, which we hope will be in favor.
Brad?
I think the biggest selling point for this charter is the 9 people on this commission. Because when I look around, I see a lot of people who are trusted in this town. And we have done the work. We have put in the work. We have done it honestly. We have done it transparently. We have, and it's all there to see. And if we inform the public the same way that we did our work together, and the trust that our neighbors have in each one of us, right? Like the man who came up to Wayne in the supermarket knows Wayne. Trust Wayne enough to talk to him about it. I'm confident. You know, I put it in the memo I wrote. People vote because of how their friends talk, what their friends are talking about. There will be some people that oppose this. Good. They're citizens. They have that right? And if they oppose it, that means we have to work harder, right, to make our case. But we will, I think if we inform the public in the same manner that we have conducted ourselves from day one, that is going to set a tone, and it's going to start positive momentum. And if there are 100 no signs out there, Dan, we'll have 200. I promise you. Okay? No one will out-campaign anything that I'm a part of. Okay? It's not going to happen.
Gotcha.
So,
Very
Who's
good.
the sign man?
what's that?
The sign man.
Well, can't hurt
So,
if you sign something.
Oh, no, not at all.
Well, we ordered 100 of them at one point, so it's just a matter of tracking them down.
I'm curious, do you remember what the cost for 100 was? $8 a sign?
It was less than $1,000.
Yeah.
No, not that much, are they?
They
10,
can
12?
be, what, $20 a sign.
Really?
Yeah. And then usually the iron is like $2, and you gotta have the iron on it.
Yeah.
Jesus, instead of sign. But
Yeah.
But we've got a ton of that stuff left over, though, from
Yeah, I mean, there should be 100 of
the
those.
school campaign.
Okay. All right.
okay. What is our first action for putting something together out to the public?
Well, how much, it goes back to, you want it on a postcard, or you want to give them a thesis, what they call that, a tome,
Dissertation.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, you gotta keep it simple.
keep it simple.
Yeah, that's good. I'm just saying,
How about the Clausen
Who knows?
webpage? The
this is
Clausen
not my
homepage?
forte, so who's gonna keep it simple and help us out here?
How about the
knows
Clausen
how
homepage? Right? Can we do that? Put something on the,
The city of
But
Clausen,
you're talking about something gonna pass out, aren't you?
well, that's what I'm trying to talk about is, where do we begin? What do we do first? Do we, Brad?
Madam Chair, if I'd like to volunteer to draft that piece. Like I said, I think there are 3 levels. There's a very simple level, And then there is, Mr. Starn sent us an example a few weeks ago of, you call it a report, I think. I call it a narrative, which is maybe 3 or 4 pages that goes into greater detail about, here's our story. This is why we were elected. This is what we did. This is why we did it. These are the highlights. And then there's that bottom part of the iceberg that I think needs to be accessible to the public, but we're not going to pass out because it's way too long and way too detailed. I'd like to take a stab at those 3 things. And I'd like to investigate how much it would cost. What would our real costs be? And what would the efforts need to be to go into producing those things? And then I'd like to report back to the commission on July 11, so that we can make some decisions with hard facts. And then you can see what I draft and decide if it's good enough or if we need something else.
If you make it more than 1 page, they'll throw it away.
Totally agree.
I've done so many of these things. And I did the Lions minutes, and I did all these things for years and years. And what'll happen is, and you gotta be careful of this, is your postal worker, okay? But I had a postal worker. I was so furious. I went to the phone postmaster. He had a flyer he was putting my Clausen yearbook inside the flyer, and I'm paying first-class mail, and they put it inside the junk mail. And I went to all my neighbors and I looked in, because I looked in my mailbox, go, wait a minute. And so you gotta be, that's one of the things you've gotta be careful with. But if you have a 1-page trifold, that you can have people help you tape, and it's easy to open, and
Yeah.
it's gotta be simple. You've been out
Well,
there.
and mail is very expensive. There's a reason a lot of people do door hangers, and you get a team of volunteers to go pass them out, because mailing something is expensive, even in a small city.
Yeah, it's 40.
I could get my daughters to help with that.
Yeah.
We could, yeah. Joe?
2 comments. What Wayne said about the post office is, it's spot on. So I'm the chairperson of a recreation authority between Roseville and Eastwood. We mailed out like a 24, an even number of a colored newsletter. And we've got to the point now, it was 13,000.
It's very
astounding. Less than half the people were getting that. You go to the post office, you know what they say? I asked the carrier, he said, deliver. It's like, so half of the people you're looking at, the ones that we surveyed, where there's 70,000 people, so these people are lying. So, well, we don't know what it is. And when we do second class, there's no way of tracking anything. You're SOL. You're done. So I agree with, mail is very expensive, and I don't, the bulk rate, but what is it going up? July 5th, like 63 cents, just to get an idea. But I agree with, I did a lot of walking, and I lost a little bit of weight. I was going to say I'm the only one, but you and I are the only ones who live in the Panhandle area. And I'm glad to do that, because I really think that will get on the door. That will, I
I'll
guarantee you,
pass
get on the door.
I'll pass them.
Right, and we get, my daughter helped me, my niece helped me, and I will get volunteers to cover what we have to cover on the Panhandle. Because I believe that's the most efficient way and a guaranteed way that it will show up on people's doors.
And you can hand them to people.
Yeah.
Right.
I was gonna say, anecdotes are not data, but we check our mail maybe once a week, because nothing important comes in the mail, everything's electronic. So I basically get it on recycling day and right in the bin.
Real quick, Brad, you mentioned you guys were going to write a story about us, or it's already here, that kind of...
What I gave you a sample of what I mean at the end of the attachment.
Well, that's fine.
It's what I call a narrative.
But if we can shorten it up to maybe a couple paragraphs, like Wayne said, what would it cost to put it in the paper, the
That'd be the
local
level
paper?
one.
You give them something like I got them, but Brad.
That's an excellent idea.
Yeah, just put it in the Clausen, because the Clausen, that Royal Oak,
If you
There's
pay-
different pieces needed.
the Royal Oak Review, whatever that paper
Yeah.
is.
Which you said,
What does it cost to do that? I mean,
B-side.
so it is my understanding that what you said, Brad, according to this, is the level 1 is the first thing that you're doing. You are gonna get those costs, put it together, and bring it to the July 11th
I
meeting.
want to go find out what are the alternatives and what do they actually cost, what energy and work has to go into creating them, so that we're looking at the facts. I mean, we can make our decision based on facts.
Okay.
In actual drafts. So the iceberg is, level 2 is the narrative, which is a little longer. Level 1, the way I do things is I'd write the narrative first, and then I would pull from that to create the one-pager, or the short form. And then I think the base of the iceberg is, like I said, that's where people can go to find all the details they want. Not everybody is going to do that, but I think it's important that it's there on principle, so that we continue to be the trustworthy and transparent body that we have been up to this
Okay.
point.
I didn't understand that at first, but now when I read it and as we're talking about it,
So short form, that's for most people. Longer form, which goes to, and then finally, for those that really want to nerd out, like John Starn, remember back at the beginning, they've got a place they can go to nerd out, you know?
yep, okay. Joe?
So I know a couple of people with writers at the East, well, we call it East Side or East Point. You want me to reach out to them and find out, hey, what would one page cost if we had one page?
Yeah, an article. I mean, it's,
Well, an article I take as a news story. I count that as free. I thought you meant like, let's put in our.
In the CNG.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
well, you don't want it too, you don't want it too long, though.
You could frame this as a press release of some kind,
Yeah,
and
that's
maybe
right.
Yes,
get it published for free rather than having to pay.
Yeah, that's free. An article will be free, but if you we're gonna put something in, I'd be glad, I'll wait till we decide what we're doing.
Yeah.
The press release is free.
If you're going to do something with, fancy graphics and colors and everything, well,
Exactly.
they're not going to do that as a press release, but,
How many here read the Royal Gazette or that little thing?
I do.
I do.
Okay,
occasionally.
yes.
I do it all every week.
I read, yeah, I mean, I.
That's what I'm talking about.
My wife and I fight over it.
Yeah, I do it every week.
You know, I mean, I'm just interested, what's in there, but what are they doing in Royal Oak and what are they doing, I'm just interested.
Yeah, they got a little, every now and then they got a little Clausen piece in it.
Yeah,
Every now-
but the people that are interested in what's going on in this town are reading that.
I think so.
So we can get, and they're always looking for some, who's the kind of person that's doing it now? I don't know how to touch the people over there.
Sometimes they're looking for filler. Give them something.
No, what I'm saying is, who's the main reporter for,
For the Gazette.
Oh, I don't know.
I know,
I don't know, there's like so many of them.
For Clausen?
Still the same
well,
family that owns it.
this newspaper's owned by.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
the big-
Yeah, it's a big gun.
Publication.
Yes.
Yeah, they're based out of like Warren.
More-
They probably cover 25 cities or something.
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
So, and they're always looking for something. And this is topical. This is newsworthy and topical. This is, I think that Brad, you'd be good at writing like a press release like here and let them decide how they want to take it out of there.
Once we get the approval from the governor, that should be our first press release, right there. Boom, here it is.
Right, definitely.
That's the first one that goes right away. Right away. But if there's an interest, I'll be glad to do it. I'll wait for you guys to
I
decide.
think, Brad, if you were to contact CNG newspapers, and you be the point person, because you were only volunteer to try to do something, and be the point person and have these articles go in the press, we get it back from the governor, that should be on the front page. I mean, we haven't done this since 1941.
Yes, should be news.
Yeah, and do that, and more articles, and see if you can get them to do a series of articles, and then these guys can put their no signs all day long. If you've got that in there,
Well, yeah, I mean, if you can make a splash like that, whether it's the governor's approval or whatever, and get a prime spot for a news story, that could very well be the kickoff.
Right.
That's what we're looking for.
It'd be a great headline. The governor approves Clausen's
Yeah,
new
people
city
start
charter.
paying attention,
Yeah.
and then we'll be more effective with all our follow-up communications and efforts.
Actually, the governor and attorney general approved the Clausen's city charter.
Yeah, but the last one's the governor, that's the important one.
Yeah.
The other one's just like, as it works its way up, but you could write that article right now, and it'd be nice to bump Royal Oak off the paper, because they're on they're on 51 weeks a year, as their lead story.
Yeah, we barely have.
Barely. And if we do, it's usually-
We're never in the crime blotter part. It's all Royal Oak, so.
but then again, yeah, the good part about that is we're not,
We're small potatoes.
you know.
Royal
That's the
Oak.
way I look at it.
Yeah, but this is positive,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But what I was getting at is if we're gonna do something as a press release, not a press release, like, I'll call it an ad that says, here's the question, whatever the case may be. Like you said, either you're gonna contact, I'll be glad to, whatever, but we already know where we're going.
It's a good way to start.
It is, it's a
The
wonderful.
newspaper would be,
It's a wonderful way to start. And we sent it to let's not forget.
we finish off with town
I think it's
halls.
still around, unfortunately.
Are they?
Or, I should say, unfortunately, I believe the Tribune is, the Macomb Daily's around, I think the Tribune's around too.
Can't,
I can't remember last time I seen one.
Only the gas station that I see, and not very often.
Isn't it every once in a while, because they want to get their circulation up, everybody gets one in there.
I do that once in a while.
And then your driveway. My buddy sucked one up in Southfield and there was snow.
So,
Yeah.
$300 later.
Yikes.
remember, do we pay for that? We don't pay for the Royal Oak.
The
That we're-
Tribune, you have to subscribe, the East Side is free.
I think it's this
Oh, I
one's
should
free.
say, sorry, the Royal Oak Review is free.
Yeah, so they make their money on ads.
Ads, yes.
Right.
Okay.
As we've discussed in this very commission,
Ads.
how we keep the papers alive.
Yeah, you're right,
Yeah.
with our legal notices, absolutely.
So,
All right.
Okay, so anybody else have any more comments or, no? Okay.
But one last thing, CNT Brad, and I know you work on things quickly, but I think their lead time's a week. I think it's the Thursday before the next Wednesday
Well,
delivery.
you'll find out when he did.
I'm almost positive.
But we don't need anything right this second.
No, all I'm saying is, depending when, you don't know when the governor, hits the press, to say it.
And that's another thing, if you have something good for them, and you get it to them before you're doing all somebody's work for them,
They'll love you.
I've written many, many news releases
They'll love you.
and featured stories, so I,
You can get the byline.
Maybe, I mean, are there?
what's that?
You get the byline.
I do, I'm a freelance,
No, I didn't know that, but you-
yeah, so I sometimes do.
Press release, I figured you-
Sometimes it made me uncomfortable because I didn't expect to get the byline.
Yeah.
That's a story for another time, though.
I'm gonna say if there's some special events in town over the summer,
It's coming up.
maybe an opportunity to hand things out.
4th of July is coming
Well,
up.
that's just.
4th of July, but I was thinking, we don't really have any kind of presence in Dream Cruise, do we?
We have a big car, we have the Lions.
But we have our own card. I mean, things
The week
like that.
before.
Things like that, we should take advantage of it and bring
Cinnamon
people out. And you can
car show.
walk by and hand people things while they're sitting there.
The
You
Saturday
can
before.
even have a booth,
Yeah, you could have a booth, that sort of thing.
even a
DDA.
booth is just, a booth is just a table.
It's all it is.
That's all it is, you're sitting at a table, you're taking.
Or hand out.
Can't even with Mary Liz
You wouldn't be
and,
doing through the charter commission,
Joan.
but through a private group, hand out balloons to the kids, vote yes on, on some charter, and kids love balloons.
Big old yes.
I will not be at the July 11th meeting, but I can work with Brad offline on some of these pieces, being also well-versed in the marketing and advertising industry
Okay,
before I leave.
thank you.
All righty.
Okay, so any commissioner comments? We kind of talked about all that together. Public comment for items not on the agenda? Okay. Discussion on next agenda items. The meeting will be July 11th. We will have our financial documents for June at that meeting, and whatever Brad brings us, and whatever you guys work on, pretty much will just be the agenda, unless anybody else has any in the meeting notes. Pretty much just the general stuff. And that's all I have. If anybody, we can adjourn.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks everybody for joining
Thank you.
us.
It's gotta be a record.